Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. If you're new, make sure to stay until the end, because what's happening in Europe's car industry right now could reshape the entire global auto market. Today's story takes us straight into the heart of Europe's industrial powerhouse, Germany, where Volkswagen, the nation's legendary automaker, is facing yet another storm. And this one could be far more destructive than anyone expected. Because this isn't just about car production delays, it's about geopolitics, supply chains, and a growing confrontation between Europe and China that could trigger another round of deindustrialization across the continent. Volkswagen's sudden shutdown. Let's start with the facts. Volkswagen has announced temporary pauses in the production of two of its key models, including the iconic Golf, a car that has symbolized German engineering for nearly half a century. Now, officially, the company says these pauses were long planned. Simply a way to manage inventory and coordinate logistics. But that explanation doesn't add up. Behind the corporate spin, there's a much deeper story. One that connects directly to a geopolitical shockwave between the Netherlands and China, centered around a semiconductor company called Nexperia. How the Netherlands lit the fuse. Here's where things get complicated and political. At the end of September, the EDA, a Cold War-era law that allows it to seize assets deemed critical for national security. And that's exactly what they did. They are a major semiconductor manufacturer headquartered in the Netherlands but owned by China's, the official reason, alleged governance shortcomings and risks to European economic security. But in plain language, it was an act that Beijing saw as a clear provocation. Unsurprisingly, China responded almost immediately by essentially cutting off vital chip supplies to Europe. And guess which industry relies heavily on those chips? You guessed it. The Volkswagen tried to play down the link between its production halt and the Nexperia crisis. The company insisted that Nexperia isn't one of its direct suppliers, but then came the quiet admission that some Nexperia components do reach Volkswagen indirectly through its Tier 1 suppliers. In other words, those chips are part of the supply chain. And when a country-sized company like Volkswagen pauses its production, it's not a coincidence. It's a signal. It's a signal that the shockwaves from the Netherlands' move are already rippling through Europe's factories. A spokesperson told CNBC that Volkswagen is in close contact with all relevant stakeholders to identify potential risks early, but also admitted that short-term effects on production cannot be ruled out. Translation: the problems are real, and they're about to get worse. Europe's auto industry on the brink. Germany's automotive lobby, the VDA, has already sounded the alarm. They warned that the China-Netherlands dispute could lead to significant production restrictions in the coming months. Remember, Europe's car industry is already struggling. It's dealing with tariffs, shrinking demand, and fierce competition from Chinese electric vehicle makers. Now add a semiconductor crisis on top of that, and you get a perfect storm. The continent that once symbolized industrial might is now at risk of grinding to a halt. Because of a geopolitical gamble that looks more reckless with each passing day. De-industrialization and dependence. What we're witnessing is another chapter in Europe's de-industrialization dilemma. The Netherlands may have claimed it was protecting its economic security, but in practice, this move has undermined the very foundation of Europe's manufacturing ecosystem. Let's not forget, semiconductors are the backbone of modern industry. From cars and smartphones to defense systems, everything runs on chips. And Europe, despite all its technological pride, doesn't produce nearly enough of them. So, when one of the continent's largest chip suppliers gets caught in a political tug-of-war, the entire economy feels the tremors. Beijing, of course, sees the Dutch move as economic aggression, an attack on its companies, and an extension of Washington's anti-China policy. Reports even suggest that the US pressured the Netherlands into seizing Nexperia as part of its broader campaign to restrict China's access to advanced technology. So once again, Europe finds itself acting as an extension of American foreign policy, even when it harms its own economy. Volkswagen's silent panic. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, Volkswagen appears to be bracing for something much bigger. According to one of Germany's biggest newspapers, the company has already started discussions with labor authorities about introducing that's not just a minor adjustment in semiconductor. It's a clear sign that Volkswagen is preparing for if this plan goes forward, tens of thousands of workers could be affected. And let's be honest, once a company like Volkswagen starts talking about cutting hours or suspending shifts, it means one thing. Because the truth is, if chips stop flowing, cars stop rolling. The domino effect across Europe. And Volkswagen isn't alone. Many other European automakers, from BMW to Renault, Stellantis and Volvo, rely on the same complex supply networks. They may not all admit it yet, but if Nexperia's products remain stuck behind export restrictions, production lines across Europe could face massive slowdowns. The European Automotive Manufacturers Association, ACEA, recently issued a stark warning. Without these chips, European automotive suppliers cannot build the parts and components needed to supply vehicle manufacturers. This threatens production stoppages and job losses. A vicious cycle. And it doesn't stop there. If production halts spread, unemployment will rise. If unemployment rises, consumer demand will fall. And when demand falls, more factories will shut down. This is the vicious cycle Europe is walking into, all while its leaders talk endlessly about strategic autonomy, defense readiness, and military buildup. But here's the uncomfortable truth. You can't build tanks, missiles, or even electric vehicles if your factories can't get the microchips to make them. China's strategic shift. And here's the ironic twist. By seizing Nexperia, the Netherlands might have just accelerated China's strategic pivot away from Europe. From Beijing's perspective, the message is loud and clear. European markets are no longer predictable. Political risks are rising. So why invest billions in European factories when you can build them in Southeast Asia, Africa, or even Latin America, where the labor is cheaper and the governments are more aligned? China could easily redirect its investments to friendlier nations, countries that actually welcome infrastructure and technology partnerships instead of seizing them. Europe's strategic blind spot. Let's step back for a moment. Europe's political leaders talk constantly about reducing dependence on Russian gas, on Chinese materials, on American defense, but their actions are doing the exact opposite. By alienating China and relying on US pressure, Europe has made itself more dependent on Washington's geopolitical whims and on fragile global supply chains it cannot control. Meanwhile, the very industries that once made Europe prosperous, automobiles, steel, machinery, chemicals, shrinking. The de-industrialization isn't a theory anymore, it's a daily reality, and Volkswagen's production halt is just the latest symptom of a much deeper disease. A moment of reckoning. So, where does this leave Europe? If leaders in Berlin, Paris, and Brussels don't start prioritizing economic stability over political posturing, Europe's manufacturing heart could soon stop beating. Because, let's be honest, a continent that once built the world's best cars now struggles to keep its factories running. A region that once prided itself on innovation is now suffocating under red tape, sanctions, and protectionist laws. And a company like Volkswagen, once a symbol of German precision, is now a symbol of Europe's growing fragility. Closing thoughts and engagement. So, what do you think? Is Volkswagen just the beginning? Could this chip dispute be the spark that accelerates Europe's industrial decline? Or will European leaders finally realize that their aggressive policies are backfiring and start rebuilding instead of provoking? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd especially love to hear from those of you living in the EU. What's the situation like where you are? Do you see signs of slowdown or concern in your local industries? If you found this analysis helpful, don't forget to, it really helps the channel grow. If you haven't already, and make sure to turn on notifications so you never miss our next deep dive into global economics and geopolitics. And most importantly, share this video with others who need to understand what's really going on behind the headlines. Thank you for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. If you found this analysis helpful, don't forget to hit that like button, it really helps the channel grow. Subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure to turn on notifications so you never miss our next deep dive into global economics and geopolitics. And most importantly, share this video with others who need to understand what's really going on behind the headlines. Thank you for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.